Alright, in this week's video, we got 3 topics to discuss. With the first topic, Meta is finally releasing Quest build v69 into the public release channel and bringing many new features with slight enhancements to the user experience. And the highlight of this update is the long-awaited feature of seamless multitasking inside any immersive app or experience. But it's also worth mentioning a feature that was added, removed, and added once again while making this video is the feature from update v68 that allows for audio input balance with recordings between your microphone and game audio. Side note and bit of a tangent, I also noticed that Meta altered the do not disturb setting so you can no longer have it on indefinitely. Now you can only have it on for 30 minutes, an hour, or until midnight, which is insanely backwards thinking, and I get that Meta is an ad/social media company at the core, but Meta Quest doesn't have to become Facebook, and in my experience, notifications on Quest are 90% of the time, or if not all, useless. With random friend suggestions from total strangers, random game updates, releases for games you already purchased, Horizon World events, I'ma keep it a bug, I don't care. I want to have it on until I toggle it off every time I boot up the headset. With keeping in mind notifications, at least in my experience with Quest 2, cripples performance in games like Beat Saber, hindering you from getting a high score, and sometimes it even happens on Quest 3 depending on the game. Less customization isn't a good thing. Moving on, we have even more information and straight up leak renders of what is rumored to be named MetaQuest 3 as, first by a Reddit user. It's inside your MetaQuest PC link client asset files if you have it installed and if you updated to the newest version recently. The headset is codenamed Panther, and similar to previous leaks, the render has been spot on since the first initial market research leak that another Reddit user shared early on within the year. I want to chime in a bit more, and at this point the biggest question is the price, as the sole existence of the headset is of course a lower price point, and trying to upgrade Quest 2 users and its chipset to be in parity with Quest 3 with Qualcomm's XR2 Gen 2 chipset. This more affordable headset all points to being revealed in this year's Meta Connect. With the last topic that I wanted to go over, a report came not long after the cancellation of Quest Pro 2 from none other than the information of Meta developing an entirely new line of devices that is not Meta Quest or Ray-Bans. The project is codenamed Puffin, and it is reported to make use of an external processing puck and battery, and Meta plans to release this akin to a pair of glasses with a slated release date in 2027, and it's said to ship without any controllers. And Andrew Bosworth seemingly confirmed this in a recent AMA that yes, it's being worked on. But before covering each topic, let's start with v69's release notes. Interesting enough, for v69 there isn't any official blog post, only release notes, maybe a sign as they gear up for Meta Connect 2024. And the first thing mentioned is that beginning in October, v69 will be required for those enjoying Meta Horizon experiences such as Horizon Worlds, Workrooms, and Co-Presence. Those not upgraded will be prompted and basically forced to upgrade to v69 before accessing those experiences. And I expect with this information included in the release notes that we should see a reveal at Meta Connect of other third-party headsets using Meta Horizon OS, as the Zuck teased new hardware from Asus and Lenovo, and it's poised to come out at any moment now, since the first initial blog post was made on the 22nd of April. Part of Meta Horizon OS is the integration of Horizon Worlds. Then with Meta's AI assistant now made available on Quest, they've introduced a new wake word as Hey Meta to engage with the assistant, miles better than Hey Facebook at least. Current interactions are quite limited, from system interactions like asking it to boot up Beat Saber and take screenshots, recordings, asking for the battery percentage of the headset, as with an LLM chatbot to ask it to create poems, it works, and Meta AI with vision, enabling it to describe the surroundings by taking a snapshot. Early on, I don't remember if it was April Fool's, but you can also ask it for wardrobe advice as well. Pretty useless as of right now, it's not always up to date, but booting up games by just asking it without navigating Quest menus is pretty useful at times. I would include a little demo in the video, but it works fine at first, then all of a sudden all I currently see is the output of an error occurred. Next, with v67 bringing the new windowed panel layout feature in experimental settings, it leaves the experimental tab and is now on by default, moving forward with v69. Another feature added on is including spatial audio for windowed panel, so it'll sound like audio is coming from said directions around you to provide richer and more realistic audio. But on my end, this feature is broken for me at least. It worked fine at first, but I was messing around with sound equalizers and I broke it. This doesn't affect fully immersive apps, though this update does break any siloed equalizers like Wavelet, kinda bum, as the base audio profile, even with headphones connected in the ancient 3.5mm headphone jack, according to phone manufacturers, is pretty flat and substandard, even with my wired earpods or AirPods Max. Next up, it mentions the ability to remove ads apps from your app library to take care of any visual clutter or unwanted apps. Could have sworn they mentioned this in a previous update. Hopefully they added this time around. But the problem is, once again, they'll add another library tab on top of the already many tabs located in the app home menu. The current pull-down tabs are all apps, MetaQuest apps, installed, updates and not installed, demos, tutorials, Quest Plus, unknown sources, installed prototypes, and it goes without saying, it needs a revamp. Bluetooth quick pairing is also added to devices like headphones, keyboards, mice, and gamepads when in pairing mode and near your headset. Still not available, but this is another feature that I saw in a previous update mentioned as well. Then finally, we get to seamless multitasking. This allows you to multitask even more effectively by keeping the Quest Home universal menu anchored in apps and having up to 3 separate windows open while inside of immersive experiences. It mentions being able to look up information on the fly, watch videos, or chat with friends while engaging in whatever game you're in. This is made available in settings under the experimental tab. It's useful in certain situations, like say a game like Grid Legends while striding around the city and making it an actual car dashboard, or mindlessly slicing blocks in Beat Saber while listening to a podcast you like. Or you could always go full brain rot mode with all 3 panels open simultaneously. Though depending on the game and the application in the universal menu, it can certainly impact system performance. In larger scope games, it will certainly impact performance more than simpler games like Saber Beater. Recording while doing this impacts performance a ton. Utilizing all 3 panels while recording legit turns the headset into a PowerPoint slideshow type of frame rate. This feature is still bare bones. There isn't a way to anchor panels to a certain position and overlay it on top of the current game so you don't interact with it by accident, as most, if not all games, will pause during interacting with the home universal menu. You're allowed to pull up Quest Store apps that don't use an entire game engine to run in VR like YouTube VR, MetaQuest browser, or even better, siloed apps like Spotify, Apple Music, or Twitch. We should be getting even more to the apps this MetaConnect as Meta gears up to launch its spatial app framework for developers to port over their existing apps to the Quest Store. Next up, mentions content adaptive backlight control, improving contrast and battery life by adjusting the backlight of your headset based on the content you're viewing. Right now, I just finished an entire playthrough and working on a Hitman 3 Reloaded review. Staying tuned for that, and there are instances where it does actually kick in. I doubt it translates over in the recordings. I'll probably capture it on my phone. It dims the display depending on what covers the majority of the screen. If the scene is darker, it turns the backlight off, ever so slightly improving the contrast, and in brighter scenes, it turns the backlight back on. I would say it's okay for an LCD screen, but nothing major in my opinion, and I usually always have my display in full brightness. There's also boundary improvements, head track cursor interaction improvements, so when you're watching a movie or viewing 2D content, it appears only when you need it and isn't as intrusive when your controllers go into sleep mode. You are now able to view permission history from the last 7 days of sensitive permission access by installed apps in your settings, privacy settings, updates in Meta Horizon Worlds with privacy control across Meta Quest and Horizon Worlds with controlling visibility and status from the social tab, stylus support for Logitech's upcoming MXE Pen that most likely will ship during MetaConnect 2024. Website shows it shipping this year on the 26th. In settings, there is already customization options and the price is decent at $130, so most likely I'll order one just for the sake of trying it. But if you look at my YouTube profile picture, I'm the furthest thing from an actual artist. And in the last part of the release notes, a new Horizon Home / virtual home environment is being added called Oceanarium. It mentions immersing yourself in the underwater world filled with seaweed, anemones, sea turtles, manta rays, and a majestic whale, which is pretty cool, but it isn't made available yet. Moreover, we have even more leaks reaffirming that MetaQuest 3S Lite is real along with specs. First spotted in Reddit from user Gary the Meme Machine, the image is available under this file directory in MetaQuest link PC client files and shows a render of the headset along with other Oculus / Meta devices under its internal codename Panther. The image is a placeholder from the first initial leaks of this guy in presumably a Zoom meeting during market research shows that the headset has a resolution of 1830 by 1920 with a pixel per degree of 20, which is exactly 1-for-1 the panel inside Quest 2. Interesting enough, in the slideshow it showed a 256GB version. Maybe the rumors of the 128GB Quest 3 version being discontinued are true and Meta starts to ship the base storage of all its headsets at 256 256 gigabytes, and early reports detail the exact same thing with many variety SKUs. Then Bosworth showed a leak in one of his videos with the headset in the background, then Luna reaffirming specs similar to Quest 2, what we've seen before with this render, third-party accessory renders, and now this, including recent FCC certification showing a new Meta VR headset that presumably is Quest 3S. And even though you can search this up, they do have time confidentiality. Quest 3 seems to include Wi-Fi 6E and obvious enough Bluetooth connectivity. I'm sure it'll have Qualcomm's XR2 Gen 2 chipset similar to Quest 3, so developers have more compute to work with. Now what I'm really curious about is pricing, and I really hope this device ships at $300 to $350 because anything above that becomes the point of contention of why not just save up for Quest 3. As with the last Amazon Prime Day deal, the 128GB version went for $430. Bloomberg and many others said Meta is considering shipping the headset without controllers to get the price point even lower, but I really doubt this, because even with Quest 3 I hardly get myself to actually use hand tracking, as haptic feedback in my opinion is huge for interactivity. I'll maybe get a Quest 3S, but who knows. Lastly, from the information, Meta is considering releasing mixed reality glasses codenamed Puffin. Bit of old news by now, but Andrew Bosworth, CTO of Meta, in a recent AMA kind of confirmed that Meta is working on a device similar in nature.
But I do think augmented reality is going to at some point, and we're also working on that. But I can't say the timelines.
But so far from the short excerpt, since it's paywalled, Meta is designing an alternative to its large bulky VR headset lineup and going with a tethered puck for 2027 from Upload VR, resembling more along the lines of a pair of bulky glasses and reportedly weighs less than 110 grams, yet described as a opaque VR style headset with pancake lenses and pass-through cameras. The lightweight form factor will be achieved by offloading both the battery and computing hardware to an external tethered puck. This won't ship with controllers, but with hand tracking and eye tracking combined, which Meta hopes, which emphasis on the quotations, will be small enough to fit in the user's pocket. Comparing this to Quest 2, Quest 3, both headsets weigh around 500 grams, everything included, so Puffin is extremely lightweight, though described bulky in the form factor of traditional glasses. If we're to compare it to Meta's Ray-Ban lineup of headliner frames, they weigh 49.2 grams, basically at 50 grams. Although this is a prototype and could end up with a fate similar to Quest Pro 2 of never getting into the hands of consumers, as it does mention within the report that Meta internally thinks this is a niche product having limited consumer appeal. Pricing is key, and Meta is in a position where it generally doesn't want to become just solely a gaming console company, as even though there's a substantial market, it caps out eventually, and Zuckerberg envisions billions of daily users. Even myself, I can't see most people in VR, and it'll exist in its own category of gaming, but AR could be for everyone from looking stylish, accessibility for people with disabilities, replacing your phone, etc. There is more use for it compared to my VR headset that barely leaves my room. Interesting developments, but I don't want to drag the video further. To end the video, like always, that's all the topics that I wanted to go over. Down in the comment section, let me know what your thoughts are, suggest stuff for me to cover or review. Hitman 3 review should come out this weekend, and leave a like or dislike down below, and until the next video, see ya.